lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
Can you take me higher?
Beyond!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 345. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
Greg, I have here in my hands,
One hand.
in my hand, my right hand, 5 ironclad predictions for E3 2014.
One full page of bullshit that no one will be able to call you on because of the way you word it.
Yeah, you'll do it, and we'll have all these decimal points and garbage. And across the table from him, the king of the fighters, Vince Ingenito.
The Pop-Tart swallowing machine.
Oh my god.
Vince Ingenito, which I'm opening just for Colin.
We
right
got
here.
it. We get the point.
This will be the first time in 7 years we have fewer listeners this month than we did
We're going down. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is Podcast Beyond, IGN's #1 PlayStation podcast. The #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet. Every Tuesday we post it as an MP3. Every Wednesday as a
Fuck that
video.
up a
You
little
like
bit,
that?
yeah.
No, I like it fine.
The IGN's #1 PlayStation podcast?
Yeah, and then the #1 PlayStation podcast on the
The
internet.
four
I like
other
to see-
ones.
I'd like to see anyone else talk about PlayStation on IGN over my fucking dead body. This is IGN's only PlayStation podcast.
This is no normal episode, dear listener. This is the E3 Predictions podcast, where we each go around the table, each with 3 predictions. We go through, we decide what it's up.
5 predictions.
No, we have 2 alternates, 3 total. You have to pick your 3. You can read your 2 extras if you
All
like,
right.
but you're only
These are
being
all
judged on 3.
these are 5
You've
ironclad
got to pick your
predictions.
3. Your 3.
Pick your best 3.
Pick your best
All right.
3 to go with.
Go with them.
Of course, that'll be topic of the week, but first let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news.
There's a lot of news this week. 13 items on the list.
13
Holy
items
crap.
on that list.
Number 1. This is a weird story. Word began swirling this morning on the internet that The Last of Us Remastered, the PS4 port of Naughty Dog's smash hit PS3 exclusive, would be launching as soon as next week. UK games retailer Game tweeted multiple times that Remastered would launch on June 13th. It also printed circulars that said so.
Damn.
However, the company later retracted and deleted its tweets, and Sony told IGN that, quote, an official release date, though, has not yet been announced for the game. The release date is not June 13th. This was all a little weird to me. Game is a huge retailer. You think that they would know what the release dates were, and they were pretty open about tweeting about it on multiple accounts.
Flagrant.
Yeah.
Some would say.
But Sony said, told me, I talked to them today, told me straight out, the release date's not June 13th, and from what I understand, I was expecting it later in the summer anyway.
Yeah.
But this kind of hit me as something like, what if they go on stage on Monday and they're like, this Friday, The Last of Us comes to PlayStation?
Well, this is
4.
right. We're
Did
right
they
at
ruin the secret?
We're right at the 1-year anniversary mark, right?
Yep.
And
The
so
14th, I think, right?
Yeah, so it'd make perfect sense to have it out and try to do that day and date.
And we may or may not have just ruined one of my predictions, but that's okay.
Okay.
Well, no, we didn't say it yet, so don't worry. Okay. It hasn't been officially predicted.
It's fine.
But
Better
in the
cross it out.
topic of the week. How's that Pop-Tart going now?
That's good. I'm
like
one
Pop-Tarts
quarter
a
of the
lot.
way through the outside of the first one, so
Thanks for the update.
I'll keep you guys posted
If you're not
about the show.
watching the video.
Mathematically, keep
If you're not watching the video, we'll
the
know.
perimeter of the first Pop-Tart has been 25% breached.
Wow, okay.
You can go with number 2, Colin.
Okay.
Well, you have permission from Vince.
Thanks,
Ingenito.
Vince. I appreciate that. Number 2. Greg, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Batman Arkham Knight has officially been delayed.
Dun, dun,
The
dun.
upcoming Batman game from Rocksteady was originally slated to launch this fall. However, it has been delayed until 2015. It's still due to come to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Not surprising to me. What's really going to be interesting is all of these games that are retreating from the fall are now going to be in the early 2015, and the games that are in early 2015 will therefore have to retreat later in the year if they want to sell. So there's going to be a lot of moving about.
I'm moving and shaking.
Moving about. Evan writes in to Beyond at IGN.com, just like you can, and says, Beyond crew, big fan from Trinidad. Started watching this year. I'm about to pick up a PS4, but it seems like everything is pushed to 2015. Is it just me, or are more games being announced way too far in advance? Seems like this generation started a year too early. While I'm waiting for E3, it seems anything I'm personally interested in is going to be cross-gen. What's the most compelling case for getting a PlayStation 4 right now? Why are these games getting delayed? I think they all had to get announced, right, to get you excited to buy a PlayStation 4, to get excited for this new generation of hardware.
Yeah, I think the Batman announcement was, I was talking about this a little earlier with someone, was a little disingenuous. I think they knew that game wasn't coming out this year.
Yeah.
And that
Well, so
they announced it to kind of get you revved up and to get it out there, and then now it's on your radar. Now you're stoked about it, especially because no one really liked Origins as much as they liked the other 2 Batman games that Rocksteady did. And they're like, yeah, we're only kidding. This game's
it was a
actually coming
PR
out in the
move.
spring. Yeah, I don't think that you announce a game 2 months ago and then suddenly you're like, it's going to miss the window by 6 months or something like that. Like, I just don't think that's how it works.
Yeah.
So I found that a little disingenuous. I think that, much like last generation, not so much so, but much like last generation, people are having more difficulty with this hardware than they expected they were going to, and that there's just more to do. There's a finer amount of work to be done on some of these next gen games, I think, than the last gen. And even though this isn't the SD to HD jump that happened between PS2 and PS3, I think that and these consoles are easier to develop for in premise.
Right.
I think that maybe they were like, we can get more horsepower out of some of these games, we can do better, we can make things prettier, we can make it run better, and why not take your time? I mean, it's not like there's a deluge of cross-platform games and cross-generation games coming out this fall still. So.
To your Batman point, I think you're 100% right. I think it was a PR move. You figure they announced it at GDC, right? When Infamous had just come out or was just about to come out. I forget the exact date of GDC, but your announcements for next gen were drying up, right? So you needed something to you can own that space. You come out on that stage, you get to own it. Batman gets to be the reason you own this PlayStation 4, why you own this Xbox One. However, brief that time, but it gets you excited, keeps that game on your radar. And then there are a lot of cross-gen. It seems like there's way more cross-gen titles this time than around. And maybe I'm not even cross-gen as much as, like, Metro. Here's some PS3 games we're repackaging for PS4. You're seeing it right now with Pixel Junction. There's all these different things games that existed, or Last of Us, things that we already saw now getting repackaged. Just because I guess it's an easier thing to port them that way. And I think there's a bigger magnifying glass on them because we always talk about that mid-tier's falling away.
Yeah, and the other thing is that when you have a generation that goes on as long as the one we're just coming out of, a lot of people feel very, very reluctant to move on to the next stage because there's just so much still they probably haven't played.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, the best incentive you can get, in this case, I think what people are finding is the best incentive you can give them is that you can have these experiences that you maybe haven't gotten to yet on the previous generation, on the new generation hardware, and you get the slightly better version. You get a more definitive version of it. Like, for instance, if I'm a person who has a PS3. And I'm not sure if I want a PS4, but I haven't bought The Last of Us yet. Just like early, say, go back to the beginning of this year. Then, knowing that Last of Us is coming to the PS4 could be a pretty good reason because I already have the interest in that game, but now maybe it's one little kind of pseudo reason to go into it.
Yeah,
so that's one of the reasons.
First party titles make so much sense to me because you had your 360, you didn't play a lot of PS3 or any of it, so then you take all these PS3 games people missed and put them on this platform that's winning the race at the moment.
I think business happenings behind games, they take a long time. It's very glacial, and like they make decisions way ahead of time. I think that what you found when PS4 started selling like crazy before it came out, when the pre-orders were going crazy and stuff, were a lot of developers going, Pixel Junk's a good example, being like, well, people really are going there, and like maybe it's a good chance for us to go and put these games on there. Let's remember that PlayStation 3's response, market response was very tepid when it came out. And that there weren't many cross-gen games. There were cross-gen games back then, but there weren't many of them. There were just straight-up PlayStation 2 games for years after the PS3 came out. So it's like there's no reason for them to just do that. Like, this is a straight-up PS3 game with the exception of a lot of Japanese publishers because people are migrating to PS4, and it is a reason for you to buy these games. If you want to buy Metro and let's say Mass Effect comes to PS4, which I assume it's going to based on some rumors and all these kinds of stuff, if these start to kind of stack up, then you just go and buy a PS4 because well, why not? I think there's plenty of reasons to own a PS4 with games just available on PS4. But if you didn't think so, well, then these games are more compelling to you too.
And going the other way on that same argument, from a business standpoint, sure, you're right. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make only a PS3 game, right? But it makes even less sense to make only a PS4 game when you look at the install base on the two systems. It just makes a lot of sense that if you're going to make a game for the PS4, well, let's see if we can fit it somehow, some way on the PS3 because the install base is that many times larger. So.
Yeah, or go the other way and make it easier on yourself. But I'm not sure if
make that money.
Doing that. Yep. Yeah. Number 3. Ubisoft's Watch Dogs is officially the most successful new franchise launch in gaming history.
Whoa!
Selling 4 million copies in its first week. It's also not surprisingly Ubisoft's quickest selling game ever, even beating out entries in the super popular Assassin's Creed franchise.
Damn.
Didn't expect it was going to be that big. I think they'll hit their 6 or 7 million mark, whatever their milestone was, pretty easily, probably in the next month. I started playing Watch Dogs a little bit this weekend. I played for about an hour, 90 minutes. Not crazy about it.
Yeah.
Think the driving is really bad, and it's like, it actually feels like more of a sim, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but that's not what I want in a game like that. I want a game that's a little more forgiving with the driving mechanics. I just feel like it's a little obtuse. I got to sit with it a little bit more and play it a little bit more. I like where it's going. I like the environment. Chicago is really cool in the game.
City's cool.
The idea is really cool, although a little absurd too. Like everything's on one network. Like I don't know.
That was the mayor's campaign promise. That's how I got there.
I want to spend more time with it. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's fine. It's just I got to spend more time before I have a real opinion on it. But
Yeah,
I wasn't drawn in by it at all.
I did the same thing you did this weekend. Played for a couple hours, and it was like, okay, I feel like I know what this game's doing and where it's going, kind of thing. I wasn't like super. What's the next tier? What am I going to unlock? Whatever.
What I really like about it though is that, and we talk about not to get too academic, hippy dippy on you, but
Put
I
on
mean,
your monocle.
we talk about ludonarrative dissonance, the dissonance between play and story. And a lot of the times, that's what really wipes these open world games off the board for a lot of players, even though they are very popular. Something I like about Watch Dogs is that the protagonist and his life and kind of who he is, all the side things that you can do and all the other activities you can engage in makes sense for a guy who totally has like no family, no real job, no real aspirations, but revenge and vigilante justice. Like, a character like that makes more sense to be able to kind of go around and freewheel and do what he wants as he wants, as compared to, say, some of the characters in Grand Theft Auto who have families that they presumably want to mend their relationship with, and have for one reason or another given up a life of crime, and then the next second you're kind of blowing away half the city with a semi-automatic carbine gas-powered firearm. So that kind of stuff doesn't make a lot of sense, but I felt that when I was playing Watch Dogs, anytime I was freewheeling and kind of doing side quests and doing other stuff, it worked for me with what the character's supposed to be, and that made it at least less initially off-putting than any of the Grand Theft Autos I've played since, like, 3. So there's that. I still don't think it's a great game. I agree with you. It didn't wow me.
Yeah.
I got to spend more time with it.
Yeah,
now is not the time for that, but I'm going to.
It isn't.
I got to spend more time
shirt.
with Transistor. Oh, thank you. Shower water for me.
When?
I don't know.
Why didn't you iron it?
Didn't feel like it.
Okay. I like the colors, though.
It's very Christmassy.
Thank you very much. I don't iron shirts. If they're wrinkled, well, that's just the way it's gonna be.
You're gonna wear out the wrinkles.
Yeah, that's
I do
what
that.
you always tell yourself.
My body heat puts off.
Number 4. Yeah, you're like a nuclear furnace.
Mm-hmm. They make
a
those?
dying star. Number 4. Naughty Dog is officially working on a new game, and it is an Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us remastered. In a candid interview with Game Informer, Naughty Dog co-president Evan Wells told the magazine that, quote, "We definitely have another project on the scale of Uncharted in very early pre-production stages. We have a sizable team that it takes to get something like that off the ground, but it's got a long runway in front of it. We have a lot of great ideas and some stuff that is already getting everybody jazzed and excited. So it's a long way off before we can really start to talk about it in detail." My assumption is it's The Last of Us 2. We'll see what happens. I hope it is The Last of Us 2. I'm not one of those guys that thinks The Last of Us is over yet. I think there's plenty of stories left to tell, and I keep saying pick it up right after the ending. But if not, new IP could be Jack. Everyone wants it to be Crash.
Everyone
That's not
wants
going to
it
happen.
to be Jack
No,
and
it's not going to
Crash.
Crash.
And that would be the whole Jack and Crash thing always makes me laugh. I mean, I appreciate if that's what you want. That's their heritage and their roots. But like, what a waste of that studio's talent if you want them to do Jack and Daxter again.
And I hate to say this because I grew up in this era, but the era of the mascot platformer is so over.
Right.
It's like way over. I mean, it's not the day of the platformer isn't over. The platformer is seeing a resurgence, obviously, in the last few years in the indie scene. But I mean, the day of the, hey, let's make a cool mascot and have him be like the spokesperson of our brand. And
no, it doesn't work anymore. And Naughty Dog's just, I'm not saying they were really talented back in the Crash and Jack days. They were one of the best studios in the world at that point, too. But they're arguably the best studio in the world now. And like,
They've
why
gone so far into storytelling and character.
why
Why
would
go
you
back now and do this?
No, it would be very silly. Very silly use of that team.
I'd like to point out how you're eating this Pop-Tart. You went all around the edges, so now you just have the frost. Now it's just a frosting sandwich.
Interesting. I like the crust the best.
See, I just eat down.
I agree with you. I actually love the crust. That's why I want to enjoy it purely away from the frosting and all the filling and everything. I really want to get that doughy, cakey kind of experience before I dig into the other kind of more Fig Newton-y part of the proceedings. I have a system.
I like it.
It's a method.
Okay.
Oh, that's something. Number 5. Speaking of Uncharted 4, in that same interview with Game Informer, Evan Wells revealed that Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, who were the two men in charge of The Last of Us, are officially leading the Uncharted 4 project. When asked by Game Informer if the two men are helping during the transition following the exit of Uncharted creator Amy Hennig and director Justin Richmond, Wells said, quote, "It's not so much of a transition period, actually. We've asked them to lead the project," end quote. Both men have worked on Uncharted Drake's Fortune and Uncharted 2 Among Thieves before moving on to The Last of Us, so both have plenty of experience in Nathan Drake's world. And Uncharted 2, from my conversations with Druckmann and Straley, were heavily influential on The Last of Us. So, and
You think it'll go the opposite now, where Last of Us will be influential on Uncharted 4?
maybe we'll see.
Think it'll be a darker one?
That's the only thing I don't want. Everyone's like they make an assumption. Uncharted, I would say Uncharted 2 is the darkest Uncharted game. Not that that's really saying anything. And I would say that. The Last of Us is obviously a very dire game, very post-apocalyptic dystopian game. I don't want that in Uncharted, and so I hope that that's not their instinct, and I don't think it's going to be. My assumption is that Amy Hennig wrote the story, and they're going to stick to that story. I don't think you can, if this game's going to come out in the next year and a half, you cannot rewrite the story at this point.
Yeah.
Rumor is around the internet the game's running, and, people are playing it, or people have seen it. Who knows if that kind of stuff's true. I think we'll see it at E3, but, I hope that that's not the case, and I think that's kind of an assumption, right? It's that because that's really saying that Druckmann and Straley can't tell a more lighthearted adventure story as opposed to something dark. Like,
well, I mean, the argument for them, right, is just the fact of what does the audience want and what do they want to make as creators, right? I know that Neil and Bruce can make a lighthearted story, but Last of Us hit for a reason, right? And and one of the big reasons was the story. And Uncharted 3, while you and I loved it, a lot of people are just like, it's the same thing over and over again, blah, blah, blah. Like,
I'd play Uncharted 3 every year, a game like that. So fucking good.
That's because we understand that's what we want out of the Uncharted brand. But if they have a different idea for it, I mean... Also, especially for PS4, right? Like, this is what we're talking about. They're not... They didn't do their normal thing where they switch with the consoles and make a different, series. So they're sticking with Uncharted, but they could easily skew Uncharted, change Uncharted, make it different than we think it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason that it has to lose its identity as being a more lighthearted kind of action romp and still have maybe a little bit of an edge. I mean, you look at those kinds of family fun adventure action movies of like the 80s, and some of them... They had moments that were dark, things that were dark. Everyone's favorite Star Wars is the darkest one, is Empire, where a dude, spoilers, gets his hand cut off by who he discovers is his father, who's not dead, but actually just turned to the dark side, and, well, you know how it goes. But the point is, the darkest, sometimes when you add a tinge of darkness to those more lighthearted stories and franchises, like, it can come up, like gangbusters. So
yeah. We'll see. Yeah, everyone's just making a bunch of assumptions.
Right, I don't want it to become Last of Us.
No, me neither. It will not become that, but I also don't want them to. I don't want them to kill main characters and do all these. Like, that's not what I want out of that series. Like, they got so close to doing that in Uncharted 3, I think, and it was uncomfortable for me. Number 6, Mortal Kombat 10, or maybe X, is official, and it's coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, as well as Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC. It will launch in 2015 and will be shown off in more detail at E3, but you can go to IGN to check out the introductory trailer if you'd like. Vince, tell me a little bit about Mortal Kombat 10.
Well, if you want to know more in detail, I did do a rewind theater on the trailer with Mr. Destin Legary.
Pride of the Sunset.
Shameless plug.
I'll bet it for you in this article.
Oh, thank you. And I think we should have a conversation up between me and our very own Chris Abbott about some of the things we want to see from Mortal Kombat X, 10, X, whatever you want to call it at this stage. But yeah, so the key things right now are that it looks like from the trailer a couple of the really old school, like MK3 style mechanics might be coming back, like the run button, which would be really exciting. Weapons like from MK4 might be coming back. This is all speculation. We're gonna. I think I should be able to get my hands on the game at E3. They have said that they're going to be showing it at E3, so I'm going to be hounding the WB people to get my teeth sunk firmly into that beast. But for now, I mean, it's a really pretty trailer, that's for sure. A lot of people hate the music. That's also for sure in that trailer. But an important thing to know, though, that trailer was entirely concept footage, not an ounce of gameplay was in that. And that's confirmed from the people who made it. A company named called Digital Dimension confirmed on their Twitter that it's all there's not a lick of gameplay in that trailer. So hopefully we'll get something that's a little more of a game and not an experience or a cinematic at E3.
Experience.
Cool. Johnny Cage is in it?
We don't know.
Of course he is. You can't have a Mortal Kombat.
He was
without
awesome
Johnny
in the last
Cage.
Mortal Kombat. I just liked his tattoo. Number 7. The long-rumored sequel to Chaos Games Homefront is real. Homefront: The Revolution is under development at Crytek UK, the studio responsible for Time Splitters, is being published by Deep Silver on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. It takes place in Philadelphia after the events of the original Homefront and reportedly puts you in an open-world environment, which sounds pretty cool.
You are a happy
I will
man.
play it at
Yeah,
E3.
you stoked?
I'm really stoked. I mean, this is one of my most anticipated upcoming games now, just based on the subject matter. It sounds really, really cool. Philadelphia is also a cool and underused setting in games and fiction generally. When you think about super popular things that took place in fiction, everyone always says Rocky, and there's just not, and then Revolutionary War shit, and then that's basically it. So, so it'd be cool to have, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
There's also that Geico commercial with the lizard outside the cheesesteak shops.
Oh, right.
There's also that action movie with Tom Hanks called Philadelphia.
That action movie.
Streets of
Totally an action movie.
That movie was the most depressing thing I'd ever seen. I was like 10 years old.
It was emotional action.
I was like, holy shit.
I love Tom Hanks and Bosom Buddies. I love this comedy too.
I thought it was a
rough.
rousing romantic comedy romp, Colin.
Man.
No?
That movie is
Pretty
horrifying.
harsh.
Number 8.
Denzel killing it though.
Yeah, everyone was great.
Absolutely.
Number 8. New footage of the so-called Project Beast has leaked, indicating that From Software is indeed working on a PlayStation 4 exclusive continuation of its Souls franchise. The studio originally released Demon's Souls on as a PS3 exclusive, and its success surprised Sony. Sony didn't even publish it here.
They were caught off guard. They didn't publish it here. Atlas did.
Namco Bandai later got together with From Software to release Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 across multiple platforms.
Bastards.
Sony still owns Demon's Souls, but Sony declined to comment about Project Beast, including verifying if it's real. But the video we have on IGN certainly looks the part. So go check it out if you want. That game looks promising to me because it looks fast. And that's all I wanted. I just want arcade-style, Ninja Gaiden-style controls, and I will play that game. And it seemed just from that 15 or 20-second footage we have that it's really fast as compared to Demon's Souls and Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And that sounds great to me. So, we'll see if it's real. I assume it'll be at TGS or Gamescom maybe. I don't think, maybe at E3. I don't know.
I don't think that's going to be an E3 thing.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I feel like that because of its origin, it's very, very for that audience. Like I think it's very strongly for the Japanese audience. From's also From stuff kind of feels that way. So I think that's going to be a TGS banger.
Bangers and mash.
Pretty cool to do just carrying around a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat. Number 9.
Number 9.
June's PlayStation Plus freebies have been revealed. In North America, you can download Trine 2 Complete Story for PS4, NBA 2K14 for PS3, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time for PS3, Terraria for Vita, and Mutant Mudds Deluxe for Vita. Keep in mind that these games will be available at different times throughout the month, not all at once. I think right now Trine is available. I also didn't mention Pixel Junk Shooter Complete or whatever it's called, which is also free right now.
Is it next month they move to putting them all out at once?
I guess so, because not all these games are available right now.
All right. Well, Josh writes into beyond.ign.com and says, Beyond. And hello to Greg, Colin, and of course the ever-rotating third chair. I want to know your guys' take on the change to PlayStation Plus free games. Last week, PlayStation announced that they will be removing all of the older games from the service and instead just have 2 games for each platform, PS4, PS3, and Vita, available all month long. I feel like the service, as it existed previously, worked well enough, and this is an unnecessary change that somewhat lowers the appeal of the service overall. So my question to you, do you think this is a step forward or backward?
I agree. I mean, I think it's when I was reading about it, everyone's like, this is great. And I'm like, what? How is this great? Like, I like the unpredictable nature. Sometimes we get a lot of Vita games. Sometimes we get no Vita games. Sometimes we get a PS4 game. Sometimes we get a PS3 game. And I like how it was released at different times and they kind of teased it a little bit. But I think this is a result of them probably. I can't imagine they're making money on PlayStation Plus at least hand over fist. They need to get rid of these old games. They're paying for them. No one quite understands. I've talked to some people about how it works, and they get these developers get paid for these games. So when a game's free, so if there's 10 free games or 6 free games, I mean there could be millions of dollars in difference between.
We've asked Sony for them to explain it to us. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Like, they don't go through that part of the financial and business for it. Personally, I don't.
There's always money in the banana stand.
I like the fact that it's going to turn over at a more regular interval. It is supposed to go all live on one day. I know what you're talking about today. I went to the PlayStation Store to get
I didn't see that.
Shooter, and Shooter was up there along with some other stuff that wasn't what they were talking about. You can still get Rainbow Moon. So I'm not sure when the timeline is on when they're changing it all around as far as everything going up, everything coming down. But I like the idea of cycling them in and out. I mean, if anybody who's paying enough attention to be upset about this, you already subscribed to PlayStation Plus, and you were already paying attention to PlayStation Plus. Yeah. So it was more for me that I'd be bored when I jump into PlayStation Plus and be like, oh, here's Uncharted Vita and all these old games that have been there forever, and where's the new stuff? Like, it's easier that every month now you just have to be active, and you have to use it, and you have to look for what your benefits are.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is that even if your problem is just physical storage space, like data space for this stuff.
Just flag them.
Just flag them, exactly. All you have to do is flag them. I mean, like, you have, basically it's like, hey, here's the new stuff. You have 30 days to flag this. You don't even have to download it. Just flag it.
Yeah, put it in your download list, and that's all you have to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't feel, I feel like like maybe people's usage habits are going to have to change
Sure.
a little bit. Like if you've had PlayStation Plus for a while now, you've gotten used to seeing the announcement and then just not doing anything with your life for 2 months.
Yeah.
Then you're probably going to be SOL.
I
But
mean, my thing is, I don't think it's a step forward or backward. I think it's a sidestep. It's the same
exactly.
thing. You're still getting 6 games a month, and you just have to be active about it. I know for me, it goes the opposite way of where so much stuff has come up, and it's always staggered now of when it's going live. So I'll be like, at the beginning of the month, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to download that, right? And then I'm traveling that Tuesday that it happens, so I miss it, so I don't even think about it. And then 2 months later, I go in, I'm like, oh, crap, right, that came out. Like, this is like a dump where I know that any time in that month, I can go jump into that dump and put my hands all up in it.
Right.
Yeah, and figure out what
Kind of
pieces,
feel it
what the
around.
nuggets I want out of that dump are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I can understand. That's a good
a
way
raw
to put it.
dump.
Gotta have a raw dump.
Worse and worse. Greg Miller, dump jumper.
Number 10. Sony-owned Studio Media Molecule, the company responsible for the Little Big Planet franchise, and Tearaway officially revealed on Twitter that it will not be at E3 this year, essentially squashing any hope that we'll see their long-in-development PlayStation 4 project. However, there's a good chance we'll see them at Gamescom, so stay tuned. They said they're not too far away from revealing it. They are a European studio. European studios tend to get the spotlight at Gamescom, and so it makes perfect sense that they would be there. But that's one less first-party studio to look forward to at E3. Number 11.
No.
I'm going to hold your hand for this one. Sony's officially discontinued the PlayStation 4.
No! Colin, say it.
After a decade on the market and 80 million units sold across the world, Sony revealed that PSP shipments will end this month in Japan and later this year in Europe. Shipments to North America already stopped in January, according to Time Magazine.
Why didn't I know? Oh, burn in hell, Shuhei Yoshida.
You could have saved them.
We could have saved them all. This ring. How many PSPs could this ring have bought? PSP was a great handheld, and I miss it dearly.
I love the PSP, and I'm glad it's gone because it's
In Japan,
doing a number on the Vita. In Japan.
Exactly. Get it out of the way somewhere.
Yeah.
Vita. I was reading the article. Sorry, I poked you there. That they're putting out like money saver packs, right, for the Vita now instead. And in Japan, trying to be like, hey, just switch over. It's cool. Just come over.
Yeah, and it's good. It's safe now. Number 12. It's a quick one. PlayStation 4's new firmware update 1.71 is now live. It doesn't seem to be mandatory or even that important.
Yay!
As Sony neither posted a PlayStation blog about it nor a forum post, which I've never seen before, actually. But it's supposed to bring some new software stability to the console. So there's
Love
that.
me some software stability.
Gotta have it. Number 13.
Lives.
And now some new game reveals. Shoot 'em Up Futuridium EP is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita in July. Ratchet & Clank HD Trilogy is headed to PS Vita in July. Falling Skies is getting a tactical strategy RPG that will come to PS3 as well as Xbox 360, Wii U, and PC this fall. Fighting game Guilty Gear Xrd is officially coming west for PS3 and PS4 this fall by way of Arc System Works. That was a Colin Moriarty exclusive. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is migrating away from PC and Xbox One to come to PS4 and PS3 this August. And I like that game a lot. I played it on Xbox One. It's fun.
Pretty rad.
And finally, Telltale Games is bringing its Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us series to PlayStation 4 as well as Xbox One later this year.
Also, Telltale's teasing something for tomorrow, which would be Wednesday. And I know this is going to go up late in the day to begin with, but if you're just, I don't know. They're talking about something crazy happening tomorrow.
I don't know.
Be interesting.
I stay away from them because I play their stuff all at once. So
Yeah.
I don't listen to them otherwise.
Exactly. So those games sound great.
Yep. Sound like video games I want to play with my eyes and my hands.
But sadly, they're not out yet.
Nope.
To find out what is in stores right now, we turn to the official Andrew Goldfarb memorial list of upcoming software on all 3 platforms by the IGN editors.
Very good.
Very good.
On PlayStation 3, Murdered Soul Suspect came out. Not supposed to be very good.
No, did not score well with IGN.
I have Drakengard 3 written on here, but I have no idea why, because that came out like 2 weeks ago. And Don Bradman's Cricket 14.
Woo!
Who's Don Bradman
I
again?
don't know.
He's the king of cricket.
Someone who's probably more famous than me.
Yeah, PlayStation 4. Murdered Soul Suspect also came out there. Also,
That's
not very
a
good.
cross-gen game?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pixel Junk Shooter Ultimate. Yeah. One game I've been really excited about since E3 last year, 1001 Spikes.
Oh, no
Yeah.
shit. That came out this week?
Yeah.
That game is awesome. I
Game is
played
rad.
that at a bunch of events. Love it.
Yeah.
War Thunder.
You want to play that at
free-to-play
home?
game. Sure.
You want to be friends?
Not really.
Oh.
And Worms Battlegrounds came out on Vita. PlayStation Vita Pets, Pixel Junk Shooter Ultimate, 1001 Spikes, and Hyperdimension Neptunia, Producing Perfection, which is supposed to be very bad.
Yep.
Oh.
And PlayStation 1 Classic, I know you've been waiting for this one, Heroin Dream.
Oh my god, I love that heroin dream.
Yeah.
Put it right in my face. That reminded me, it's Tuesday. Are we hanging out tonight? Are we gonna play 1001 Spikes?
Yeah, we can hang out at home. I'm tired.
That's
But,
fine.
we can go out on Thursday maybe.
No, I got plans on Thursday. We can hang out tomorrow. I think our other thing I think got canceled.
Yeah,
let's
do that.
migrate till tomorrow. All right, great.
Every time I'm on, they make mandate plans.
No, we're supposed to hang out on Tuesdays
And I'm
because
never included.
We never see each other anymore, even though we live together.
And work together, both at home and at home here.
That would require me to leave my bedroom, which doesn't happen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the year. E3 is next week. Yes, we will be podcasting from E3. Yes, Shuhei Yoshida will be joining us. Yes, Andrew Goldfarb will be joining us. The whole crew is back together. But right now, a week removed, we do our annual E3 predictions. The rules are simple. We have brought 3 predictions to the table. Technically 5. We bring 2 alternates. We go around one by one, and then we see at the end, M-Dog on next week, on his weekend, after E3, will tabulate who won. We'll go over that next week.
He's got the machine,
Good
the
old
old
M-Dog.
calculator.
He's the
where you
Beyond
have to-
supercomputer.
He's got like he's got a visor on.
I imagine him at home with an.
I gotta get these predictions done, Dad.
I imagine him home with an abacus.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way.
Well,
it
because
works in my head.
if you've never watched or listened before, Colin's going to get into granular detail with his thing, so he can win by 1/10 of a point.
I'm not so much this year.
Just be ready for an ever flowing stream of bullshit from this man across the table. Everyone, watch how he games the system.
Colin,
Yeah.
you're the PlayStation expert. I say you start. I'm gonna go this way.
Number 1. The Last Guardian is real. Team Ico is developing it, and it will be re-revealed at E3. It will launch this fall and will be available on both PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4.
So glad you said that.
How confident are you?
100%.
This is a lock. We say this every year. It seems every year.
so
we
glad
I'm
you
predict this.
100% confident every year that this is going to happen.
I was personally counting on you saying that.
Just real quick, we don't use our insider information on these either.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm sorry, that's a great point. You know, it's one of those things where previous Beyond hosts would do this and be like, "Oh, I think this," and they would know. Anything we predict here means that we don't know if it's going to happen. That's why if we dance around things sometimes, we don't say certain things that we've been predicting in the past. Maybe those have been confirmed since then, or maybe we know they're not confirmed.
Right?
They are not, or maybe we confirm they're not happening.
Gregory?
All right. Let's see what I'm going to consult the old crazy ass prediction list here. E3. They're going to walk out on stage.
Yeah.
Talk about PlayStation Now. And they're going to say, it's out next week. I predict that Tuesday after E3, PlayStation Now launches.
The next day.
That's very close to it.
I'm sorry, no, I'm saying the week after. So you clear E3, the week of craziness, and then the next week.
So,
there it is.
Okay.
So I don't know what
Okay.
date that'd be. But you know.
That's very close to one of my predictions, but not quite.
Well, thanks for the fucking update. The 17th.
Keeping you fucking
PlayStation Now.
informed, all right?
I fucking love you.
I fucking want to do you.
PlayStation Now, June 17th, Greg Miller says.
Okay.
Anybody want to argue?
Nope.
Debate?
I'll wait for my turn,
Okay.
Which is right now.
which is right now.
But he's got a whole bunch of... He's refuting us
But
on
now,
both
now,
points.
I don't know who to fire. No, okay, I know who to fire at first. Okay. Another year will come and go without so much as a peep about The Last Guardian.
Only one man can be right.
M-Dog, you must decide. Number 2.
PlayStation Vita will get at least one new game using a first-party owned IP, but it will come from a second-party studio. The game will either be Infamous or God of War.
I like it. That's bold.
Interesting. So not Sucker Punch or Santa Monica working on this game.
No, definitely not.
Who do you think it'll be? Ready at dawn?
No.
Who do you think it'll be? 343?
343 stopped everything. No, I don't know. Sanzaru?
Oh, shit. Sanzaru.
Could easily do a game like that.
What are you up to, Matt Kramer?
Yeah, something.
Yeah, no, I can totally get behind that. I actually predicted something like that for like when we did our next year predictions. I said that I felt like there was going to be a Vita Infamous game that was going to bridge the gap.
That's
between
another
2
one we've been saying
and
forever.
Second Son.
It's just all wishful thinking.
I know. That one is really, really wishful thinking.
Gregory?
Speaking of wishful thinking, Parappa the Rappa, PlayStation 4, 2015. That's it. The 3
That'd be
things
cool.
that are in there. Yeah. It's time.
It is time.
You saw the reaction he got in PlayStation All-Stars.
Ooh, everyone loved that game.
Bring him out as a digital game. There you go.
That'd be cool. I like that.
Sony will unveil no less than 2 new exclusive first-party titles. Neither of them will come out in 2014.
Talk about fucking general.
Learn from the best, Colin. I learned it from watching you.
I don't know which one to go to from here.
Yeah, now we have our alternates, but I'm pulling up an alternate to replace one of my other ones that was general for my third and final.
I'm going to say I have an outlandish one on here, but I'm not going to use it.
You're going to save that? Or?
Yeah. Number 3, Sony Ben's new game will finally be revealed. Slated for a 2015 release on PS4 and PS Vita. It's not related to Siphon Filter.
Now I'm looking forward to your outlandish ones.
I absolutely knew we were not getting through this podcast without Sony Ben coming up.
It's from my boy Eric Jensen.
He loves it.
Every time Eric says anything on Twitter, I tweet at him a picture of Gabe Logan.
Anthony Gaius was talking to him about coming to work or trying to find a job or whatever, and you did that too. Eric Jensen did not seem pleased. This is one I'm pulling up from the minors that I added during the show. Media Molecule shows their game. I think they're pulling a Jaffe here. No, we're not going. We're not showing Twisted Metal, and then Jaffe rolls out in an ice cream truck and shows Twisted Metal.
Right.
But what if Shaban Reddy rolled up in an ice cream truck and showed Twisted Metal?
That's one way that could happen. Yeah. That would be interesting.
Twisted Metal karting? I don't know.
Okay.
Vince, your final prediction for the M-Dog tablets.
Yes. See, now I'm in a pickle here because now
God, I want a pickle.
Now I'm wondering if I should go with. Okay, I'm gonna pull up one of my. Yeah, because this one's boring. No one gives a shit about Uncharted 4. Right? Sure.
I had an Uncharted 4 prediction, but
so
I was
did
like,
I.
yeah.
I'm the same thing. Now it's boring. Now
The prediction is boring.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Packages.
Okay, so PlayStation Now
Yeah.
will be announced as going into open beta immediately at the show or the following week, along with some kind of huge classic title to push it, such as perhaps, but not limited to, Final Fantasy VII.
Interesting. Okay. In the open beta, would they be charging money? What are we terming as out? I guess since it's an app you download for free regardless.
Right. I don't know.
Currently in the closed beta, everything's free. You're just trying games out.
I think if it's free, yeah, it is free now. So yeah, they're gonna keep it free.
Okay, so that's the coin flip for us. Open beta for you is that it's still free.
Yes.
Being released for me is that money's on the table.
Right.
Okay. All right. There they are, locked in. The official 3 from each one of us. Now let's hear the alternates. What do you have for your alternate?
I have 2 other ones. Uncharted 4 will be given an official name and release date. It will launch holiday 2015. And then the other one is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Stories will be revealed as a PlayStation Vita exclusive and will launch in 2015.
That'd be awesome.
And I kind of feel in my gut that IP leak might, like that trademark leak, might be Vita related. That would be pretty fucking huge.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that are younger or didn't have PSP or PS2 back in the day might not remember that the stories Grand Theft Auto games that were there to like tell us to shut up in between San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 4 they were of a lesser quality, lesser production value, but they were fun.
Yeah, people loved them.
Especially on PSP.
Yep.
And some of the first PSP games I ever played. And that would be fucking awesome. Sony is going to have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And maybe even have another studio develop it. But to just have that... Grand Theft Auto is a game that would sell Vitas. And so that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine, the first one was eliminated because it was boring, and too general, and the second one was eliminated. I'm sorry, the first was too general, the second one was just too boring. My first alternate was the Vita is getting a big title from a third party. It'll be out of left field. It'll be a Borderlands kind of situation where it's just a third party thing we know, put out, blah, blah.
Skyrim.
Exactly. Can you fucking imagine?
Holy shit.
I couldn't imagine it ever running.
I know. And then my other
Borderlands barely does.
Yeah.
my boring one was just that the YouTube app comes to PlayStation 4 this fall.
That's a fucking terrible one.
That's why I didn't do it.
Make that in the back of the Uber when you were on your ride over. Jesus Christ.
All right, so my other 2, one of them was boring, and then the other one was, I don't know, kind of more strategic, like kind of strategic level, less about games exactly. So yeah, mine was similar to yours. Uncharted 4 will get a name and release window, not date, but or name and release window at the Sony press conference, along with a reveal of an Uncharted PS4 bundle. Was what I was going to go with. But there's no way that's not happening, so it's not really an interesting prediction. Maybe not the bundle part. So the other one was that I think and this is going to sound redundant at first, but I think indie is going to be a huge part of the presentation this year, but more so than it has been in the past, even though they keep beating that drum, because with so many of their big games, so many big games slipping to 2015, and I don't think any, I did say that I think they're going to announce a couple of new exclusive first-party titles that are going to be pretty big, but I don't see how they could go from announcement to bringing them to market to bear in 2014. So I feel like there's going to be a big gap still in 2015, and one of the ways they're going to try to shimmy around that and kind of sell around that is by focusing and beating the drum even harder on indie titles, which aren't all necessarily just like pixel art retro platformers anymore. Like an indie title can now be a pretty meaty experience, and I think they're going to try to sell that. Like games, for instance, like The Witness are a good example of an indie game that doesn't seem indie in the sense that it's not like of a super limited, super specific experience. So I think they're gonna try to play that card as like the reason to look at their platform without the big guns coming out in 2014.
Okay. Good predictions, Vince.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I try. It's my pleasure.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, Podcast Beyond is nothing without you. So we opened up Beyond at IGN.com to all your questions about that there E3. We'll start with Johnny. Johnny says, Beyond to Colin, Greg, and the rotating third chair that continues to defy the laws of perpetual motion.
Beyond.
I have one quick question. Will this be the E3 that Sony makes it clear that they've given up on the Vita? I've owned a Vita for years now, and I love it, but it doesn't seem like Sony are going to try and get any more Uncharted quality games on it anytime soon. I love the indies it gets, but I don't want that to be all there is. So what do you guys think about the whole Vita situation?
So real quick, if you're watching on the video and you have great eyesight, you might be able to see that on my list of predictions, I had a number 6, and that was blank. And what that was going to be, but I printed this out before remembering what I wanted to do and writing it down, was that I think Sony is probably going to spend 10 minutes or less talking about the Vita at E3. I'm not saying that I think they're going to concede defeat, because companies don't just do that.
How it would be crazy if they did.
But I do think that they are not going to be spending a lot of time talking about what's going on the Vita right now, because I just don't think they're going to have a whole lot to talk about, that they wouldn't be better served spending time talking about some of the smaller scale projects that are going to enrich the PS4.
If they have, and I know we've discussed this table different ways, if Project Beast or whatever is a Souls game, right? If they have that and they have Grand Theft Auto, they do a considerable chunk building up, right? So it's like, we have this indie and we have this game, and then Sony Ben's working on this thing, and then blah blah, and then we have the Souls game, and also Grand Theft Auto coming out here in this bundle. I think that's like what they do, right, to breathe life and talk about it. Otherwise, yeah, it's a weird proposition of how you put that into the show.
I think what they have to start doing, and I think they will, because some of these studios have good experience with Vita now. Some of their own studios is. I think some of these games are going to be on both PS4 and Vita, and you're just going to have it would be a waste to have Ben make a PS4 game and not use their handheld knowledge. These guys made Resistance. And they made Uncharted Retribution, right? And they made Uncharted Golden Abyss, and so they understand the Vita, and they understand the PSP, and they understand the handheld market, and they Siphon Filter obviously was on PSP. That's in their blood, and it's the same thing with Gorilla Cambridge. They know how to make Vita games, and the same thing with Studio Japan. They know how to make Vita games. Gravity Rush 2 is in development. Freedom Wars is in development. Those are internally developed games that will come out in the States. So I think that I agree. A company's not going to go up there. That Kaz is going to get on stage and be like, fine.
You win.
Fine. All right. You don't want it. We're not. No. I think that I think Vita could hit 25 million lifetime, and I think it's 15 million away, or 16 million away from that. I think they could totally do it. They just need a couple more big games to send it out there. It's never going to be anything bigger than that. But third party, by Geo Corsi and those guys that are working on those things, they're not done. There's going to be more, and Borderlands isn't the end of that story.
I still think you're going to see something unexpected Vita related, like my boring, very general thing. That I think there'll be a big franchise that's announced at E3 coming to Vita.
That'd be great. But I don't necessarily disagree with Vince in the main, which is 10, 15 minutes. Sure, if Sony's press conferences are not as long as they used to be. If they want to do 90 minutes, then an hour, they're gonna have to give an hour to PS4, and then maybe a little bit to PS3. One of my predictions I didn't guess, but I think they're gonna drop PS3's price, and that will be a big story, and maybe some new PS3 games. I mean, that's not necessarily unheard of, especially in Japan and Sony's home market. Persona 5 is a PS3 game, so And no, I wouldn't expect to see Persona 5 at the press conference, but
Awesome if you did
that is a TGS game through and through. I think you can bet on that. But so I think Sony has kind of juggled this hardware successfully. PS3 is a very successful piece of hardware. Why not drop it to $99? And say, like, by the way, here's a couple new games that are coming down the pipe from a third party or a second party or whatever, and be like, now you can play all these great games, and PlayStation, or if you don't want to do that, PlayStation Now, like you guys were saying. So I think they'll juggle all three consoles, but I think 85% of it will be at PS4, and that's the way it has to be. Yeah. Especially because there's so many fears. Like I wrote in my editorial last week about their upcoming library. Like you got to start announcing some games. You got to get them out. That's why I think The Last Guardian. I mean, everyone laughs because it's a joke here at work too. Like I really do think The Last Guardian is going to come out this year. Like I think that like their whole thing with that is, they don't worry about canceling games, right? Like in terms of announcing them, like they do cancel games. Sony does cancel games. They canceled Sony Santa Monica's game. They never canceled The Last Guardian because it's fucking in development. You know what I mean? Like that. That's why they haven't canceled it yet. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just be like, fine, like we don't want to talk about this shit anymore? But they don't do that because they have to talk about it again. And I think whether it's if it's not here, it'll be at TGS or Gamescom, I'm sure. But like where they're going to be like, the game is real. Team Ico's been working on it. Here's what it looks like. Here's the release date. You can play it at E3. We're not talking about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like that. I think and like we're cutting our losses. We clearly lost a ton of money on this game. It's out. Hopefully it's good. Let's move on. I think that's going to be the situation with that particular game.
Josh writes in to Beyond at ign.com and says, Beyond. Since someone probably brought it up, what's the big deal about The Last Guardian? I don't really understand why everyone is so excited for it. I'm assuming it's mostly from their experience playing Shadow of the Colossus. It wasn't that impressive of a trailer either. Can you go over why people constantly say this is one of their most anticipated games, even though we haven't heard or seen anything about it since 2009 or whatever year it was?
I mean,
thanks, Beyond, Josh.
He answered his own question. Like, Shadow of the Colossus was one of the most special games ever made.
Yeah.
So I think that whatever that team was going to do next, everyone was going to want to be a part of. And sure, the trailer it wasn't technically groundbreaking. It didn't necessarily showcase anything gameplay-wise that would make people go, oh my god, that's a game that I need to play. But knowing the DNA of the team and what they're capable of from a narrative and atmosphere standpoint, I think that the trailer at least promised us that we can expect just as much magic and sentiment from The Last Guardian as we got out of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. So that's really it's not a complicated answer. Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is the reason why. That was a special game, and we want to see what a special team can do to follow it up with better hardware.
I don't know how old Josh is, but it'd be similar to if after Last of Us, there was no Uncharted 4 trailer, or there even is the Uncharted 4 trailer, but mainly there's a new IP trailer that they put out, right, that Naughty Dog puts out, this studio that just put out this perfect 10 game that everyone loves and thinks changed acting and did all this different stuff, and then goes quiet for a generation. Yeah. And there's all this turmoil. This actually sounds a lot like Uncharted 4. Yeah. But there's all this turmoil behind the scenes. You want to know what is happening. Is that vision still intact? How is what's made Shadow of the Colossus special still going to be in this game, even though it's years later and so many people have come and gone? Like, at first it was totally people were into it because of Shadow of the Colossus and what Team Ico does, right? And now it's totally because what the fuck has happened for all these years? What has been going on, and what is that final game going to look like now?
Yeah, I think I'm interested in it for different reasons than a lot of people are interested in it. When The Last Guardian was announced, it was 2009. First of all, interesting little tidbit, Ryan Clement saw that game running. So he's one of the only people, I think, in the entire world outside of Sony that's ever seen the actual game.
For the NGP reveal, which would later become the PlayStation Vita. And
he saw someone played the game for him. So like he actually saw the game was running, and that's an amazing little tidbit. But so cool. To me, the game is fascinating because something went terribly wrong at Team Ico. Yeah. And what's so interesting when people ask about my Naughty Dog piece or my Santa Monica history, whatever, like, we have access to these studios. We know Neil and Bruce. We know, Shannon at Sony Santa Monica. We can ask them questions, and sometimes they won't answer them, but at least we have the opportunity to sit down and try to ask them questions and meet them every so often, and they're always very friendly. And I've been to Studio Japan, and we don't, I spent some time there, and I know some people there, but we don't have that kind of access to that team. And what I always think about is Famitsu or 4Gamer, one of these studios. They fucking know what happened, and they know people at those studios. And there's an interesting story behind The Last Guardian that I suspect will be more interesting and better than the game. And, it to me with Ueda and all the talent at Team Ico at the time, it seems to me that they fell apart. And like we don't have confirmation of that because we don't have access to those developers, and those developers are a little more quiet in Japan, and it's a little more traditional, it's a little more prideful. They're not going to tell stories like that, or if they do, they tell them off the record at a bar with their friends or whatever. So I'm more interested in The Last Guardian because I want to know how the fuck a team has taken 9 years and not put out a game and still exist. That's to me, and they're in that building in Studio Japan, at Studio Japan, and they're doing something, but they haven't put out a game. Like I've always said to people, like imagine Shadow of the Colossus came out in 2005. I was like a sophomore in college when that game came out.
Yeah.
Like I'm 29 years old, and that game and their next game is still not out. And not only that, but like they still insist that it exists and that it's going to come out. So to me, I'm more interested in it in a scholarly way. There's a story behind that game, and whoever gets it, I hope it's me. I wish it was me, but I don't care who gets it. Like I want someone to tell me what went wrong with that studio and what happened, because what clearly happened, in my opinion, was they had the game, it wasn't working. They got rid of Ueda, and brought him back. There's a lot of drama behind the scenes, and they spent, no doubt, tens of millions of dollars on this game. So why not just pull the plug? Maybe it's because they see something really special in it. And I think now's the time. Yeah. They've been very, the last year, 18 months, ever since PS4 was revealed, they keep saying, like, it exists. The game's in development. And I got to take them at their word. Like, why would Shuhei and all those guys, Scott Rhodey and all those guys, say that it was in development if it wasn't? I think...
Because Rhodey's a liar.
But I think the time is now. I think that game is ready to go soon. And I think they've just been keeping it quiet because they understand that they got bit in the ass when they revealed it 18 months to 2 years ahead of when it was supposed to come out, and they realized that was a huge mistake. So I care about it because it's fucking fascinating. Yeah. I could be totally fine never playing The Last Guardian. Like all I want to know is I want to be a fly on the wall of that studio, and like the tumultuous nature of what was going on there, because there's no way, and those guys are artists, and there's no way that like something didn't go wrong. You know what I mean? So that's why I care.
What if you just evaporated and then all of a sudden you were flying on the wall in that studio and that was your one wish? That'd be fucked up.
I couldn't wish my way out.
You're stuck there. That's it.
So I know the story, but I can't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's like a Twilight Zone episode.
You fly back here somehow, and then you just go to each key on my keyboard, and I have to type it out real slowly.
It takes years first.
Mauricio writes in to beyond.ign.com and says, do you guys think we'll see any new Kingdom Hearts 3 updates at E3?
No. I think we'll see Final Fantasy 15, but not Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is not a... I keep saying that game's not coming out like until 2017, maybe. Like that. Didn't they say when they announced it, they're like, it doesn't even really exist. Like they were basically like, Final Fantasy 15 is the shit that they're worried about right now, that team. And they share a producer and director, don't they? So like they can't be working on both.
At the same time, they have shown gameplay footage. So
what, the footage they showed last year, wasn't that like just like this is what we think it's going to look like?
I wasn't. Maybe it was. I wasn't. It didn't look so spectacular that I was like, this must be target render. It looked like it was feasibly gameplay footage.
Yeah,
to me anyway.
I think I don't know. Square. I don't know like what's going on with them, but it seems to me that because Final Fantasy 15 is 13 versus, that is the game that they have to concentrate on getting out, and I think that game comes out in 2015. I think like once that game comes out, then they send everyone over to Kingdom Hearts. That's on that team or whatever. I'm sure they have some people working on Kingdom Hearts now, but and you see Kingdom Hearts in 2016, 2017. I don't think it would be wise for them to talk about that game right now, because it makes people just like last year. It makes people feel like it's close. It's not. It's not close. Like Final Fantasy 15. I think is going to be. I think Square will be at the E3 press conference with Final Fantasy 15 for sure.
This one comes from Jeff. And Colin, it's inadvertently only aimed at you. Try not to sneeze. I'm doing this thing. The deep breath. Suck in all the ghosts. Jeff says, will Sony announce a PlayStation Now launch date with a launch lineup? Vince and I.
We've got this covered.
We've covered it. I say, yeah, it's coming out right away. You say, yeah, open beta. So, yeah. Where do you think this is coming out?
I think they will talk about a release date or at least a release month. The beta's been quiet. Like, even the stats they released on the beta weren't compelling to me in terms of like how much it was used. They were talking about something like 50,000 hours or something like that. Like, that doesn't seem like a lot.
Also, they had a terrible list of titles, I think, available. I think it was something like 9 titles were available for the longest time?
Yeah, and I think they updated it. And
they cycle them in and out.
Yeah, I think that they said summer all along. I think it's going to be only in the U.S. Obviously, they've said that too. Maybe Canada. Yeah, I think August, September, something like that. But PS Now, I don't know.
You don't know?
it's a cool idea. It's a very promising idea. They bought Gaikai to make this happen. In addition to the communication between Vita and PS4, I think it's a very promising idea. I just don't know how based just like there's going to be latency issues no matter what. Like this is one of the things you have to have almost a system that anticipates what you're going to do to make the latency go away, because no matter how good it is, there's still going to inherently be latency.
Sure,
the
you're still
signal's
communicating
traveling
off the day
at the speed of light or whatever. Even there's still going to be some delays or whatever. So I'm just interested to see how they fix some of these problems. People seem to like the beta. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, PS Now will be there. I'm sure they'll talk about it.
The weirdest thing, right, was that it seemed like for the longest time, what was going to be awesome about PlayStation Now would be the fact that, okay, you get to play all these PlayStation 3 games you missed. They keep putting remastering and then putting out. Last of Us is one of the games they originally demoed it with for us, right? And then, sure enough, here's Last of Us Remastered. It's like, well, what's the point anymore of I'd rather wait for the remastered version where there will be no latency and will be, super HD.
And it's weird because they put so much money into. I mean, Gaikai was a big investment.
Yeah,
how much?
$390 million or something.
It's a crazy amount of capital to put
David
into
Perry's
something
stoked.
like that.
Whatever that guy's name is, the guy who
Steve Perry's stoked, but he's just stoked all the time.
is that no, David Perry's the guy, right?
Yeah,
That owns Gaikai.
I'm talking about Steve Perry.
Oh, from Journey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I heard he played a live show for the first time since 1995.
Where? Here? He's from the
No,
Bay.
somewhere.
Steve or Dave?
No, Steve Perry. Dave Perry, I don't think might play in a garage band.
You don't know. I can
He plays
see
Rock
Dave,
Band, probably.
I can see Dave Perry slapping a bass,
Slapping the beat.
slapping the bus.
Craig B writes in and says, Beyond.
Beyond.
Dear
Beyond.
Colin, Greg, and the guests in the ever-rotating third chair, in a dream scenario, what game would you like to see as Sony's "and one more thing" moment? On the other hand, what do you realistically think it will be? For me, in a dream scenario, right, it would be they get ready to walk off stage, they come back, one more thing, and it's this awesome Uncharted blowout. I don't think they do that because I think they need to explain what's happening with Uncharted in some way, shape, or form, right? Evan and Christoph come out, Neil and Bruce come out. Hey, we're the guys who made The Last of Us. We're in charge of it. Own a little bit of what's happening, right? They already did it a little bit with this Game Informer piece, but actually get out now in the public eye and be like, this is what's up, because they made such a big deal about revealing it for PlayStation 4 with Amy
and Justin.
Exactly, and Stashwick, right? Everything's different now. We need to get new faces out to say these are the people, even if it ends 2015, 2016, soon, not this year. You know what I mean?
Definitely, it's definitely not coming out this year.
I know.
I just people still
think
think it's coming out this year. There's no way. There's no way, in my opinion, that Uncharted 4 comes out before
I think
fall
you'd have
2015.
you'd have to be off your rocker. I think.
I still say spring 2016.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't think any sooner than November. What was Uncharted 3? 11/1/11? Somewhere in that time frame, would be
Holiday 2015. I think was
Wait, Uncharted
was a
Uncharted 3.
I thought that was 11/11/11, wasn't it? Or which one am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Okay.
But
That's too far back.
I think you're right. Uncharted 4 no sooner than holiday 2015.
Yeah,
It's the earliest.
I think Uncharted 4 blowout would be cool. I would like for them to show the game off, show us what they're working on, all those kinds of things. I think Uncharted,
11/1/11.
Yeah.
Got it. Nailed it.
But I have fanboy dreams of obscure ass shit that they're gonna do, and I would love to see Guerrilla's rumored open world RPG.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
God, yes. That would be great.
I think that'd be fucking rad. I just don't think that they're gonna do that yet. I don't think it makes any sense.
I didn't make
especially-
any predictions about that because I thought everyone would have taken that. But
No, just in the sense that they apparently have more than one team there, but Killzone just came out, and they got to give those guys time to breathe. I think. Plus the DLC is coming out. So yeah, I think an Uncharted, literally a 15-minute playthrough of Uncharted. Think about, we've been to a lot of E3 conferences, right? A lot of in the person. We've watched even more of them, and the best moment I ever saw at an E3 press conference ever was when they played The Last of Us.
Yeah,
that was unreal.
And it was awesome, and that was in the game. That section was in the game,
Yeah, that wasn't. It was. It wasn't like
That was on a vertical slice.
so many vertical slices that you never see again. Yeah.
Just something like that with Uncharted would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
Just play 15 minutes of Uncharted from the beginning or something would be cool.
I think what would be big for me, but it's probably... there's no way it happens because just you look at it realistically in the personnel and where they are. But if at the very end... It wouldn't have to be at the end, but if they were to reveal that Square is working on a traditional entry in the Final Fantasy numbered series, not 15, which looks like basically an action game set in the Final Fantasy universe, which is fine for some people, if they, the Luminous engine that they showed that tech demo for, I want to see a traditional Final Fantasy built on that engine, and they show like an opening cinematic or like 15 or 10 minutes of gameplay from that. I guess it would be Final Fantasy 16.
Or a Final Fantasy VII remake would be cool.
Or a Final Fantasy VII remake with that engine would be sick too. But I'm ever since Square kind of started pulling a 180 and realizing that what they've been doing for the last 5-7 years is
go
just
back
kind
to
of
basics.
Go back to basics, and they've realized they need to like refocus on what their fans actually want. I think that would be an exciting show of commitment to that idea.
All right.
I don't think it's going to happen because they've got Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15 to worry about.
Yeah, I think those things do happen. I just don't. I think we get another Final Fantasy Tactics game eventually. I think we get a Final Fantasy VII remake, hopefully a 6 remake. I think that Dragon Quest XI should hopefully be not an MMO.
Yeah.
They are bonkers with some of the things they've been doing, and I think that they, like you said, I think they've totally been like, yeah, you're right. Like we should have listened all along.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should have because you've disassociated yourselves from a bunch of longtime fans that buy everything. I used to buy everything with a Square logo on it.
Me too.
When I was a kid, man, I like every Square game from like 1992 or 1993 to 2002. I bought every one of them. And like there's like almost no holes in that. Like it really is true. Like even Einhander and the Bouncer and like like anything. And like I don't have that kind of loyalty to any company anymore. And like they did that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it really. I mean, their downfall really started with 10 to me, and then really just fell off a cliff with 12. And so I hope you're right. Because that company has a special place in my heart, just like Nintendo does, where it's like, just come back to me. Talk to me again.
One of the few companies that I could say, like, seeing that emblem on the box meant to me I didn't have anything to worry about. I can hand my money over with a clear conscience.
Yeah, and there was only a few times I got burned. Like, Saga Frontier sucks.
Yeah.
That game was fucking terrible.
I like how it wasn't that Saga Frontier sucked. It still actively sucks.
That game's awful. But for every one of those games, there was a Xenogears, there was Secret of Mana, there was Chrono Trigger, Vagrant Story.
My God.
I don't know how they did it. Obviously using a lot of different studios, but those Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh yes.
Like just fantastic games. All sorts of different kinds of games.
Yeah.
They were all RPGs, but they were Parasite Eve.
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
I get misty-eyed over those days.
Yeah, those were good days.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Podcast Beyond episode 345. Thank you so much for sticking out with us. Let us know your E3 predictions by tweeting us, by putting them in the comments, and then make sure you come back next week for another installment of Podcast Beyond, this time with Shuhei Yoshida. Andrew Goldfarb returns from the dead for one show only. We post the MP3 on Tuesday, the video on Wednesday. That's usually. Next week will be all effed up because of E3, but be looking at it. Follow the Twitters. We're doing the show on Wednesday, so hopefully I'll get the MP3 up that night sometime after everything gets settled down, and the video whenever I can. Make sure you go to ign.com. It keeps the mics on. You go there, you watch the videos, you read the articles. You download the PlayStation 4 app, which will be streaming all of IGN's E3 coverage live. We have the pre- and post-show conferences for every conference on Monday, the conferences themselves, of course, then Tuesday through Thursday, every hour, whatever it is, I don't even know. I guess like every 10 minutes.
I don't even know what you're saying.
There's the live show. Well, it's every hour of the day the live show's going, and then the different segments. You can find it all at ign.com.
And I'm excited that we're not... I have two things to say.
Sure.
I forgot one of these things. E3 related, not going to Sony's conference this year. I will be on the pre- and post-game show with Greg and Damon, which will be fun. Vince will be going to the show as my proxy.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I asked our engineers, because some people have been asking us on Twitter and emails and stuff, where we have this PlayStation 4 app for IGN, and it's fantastic. And a lot of people use it and watch videos and do all those kinds of things, watch Podcast Beyond. Where's the PlayStation 3 app? Where's the PlayStation Vita app? PlayStation 3 app has been submitted for certification.
Hey! Nice.
So we don't know if we're going to get it bounced back, and we have to fix some things. That happens with everyone. But that's hopefully somewhat imminent. And Vita is, I think, in the air right now. I think I think we're doing one. I just don't think that we're prioritizing PS4,
Top
PS3,
men
then Vita. So our guys are on it. So if you've been asking that question, I hope that answers it for you for now. I'll check up in a couple months on the Vita situation, but I know that they PS4 was their priority, then PS3. You got to go where the users are. But I have made the argument to our engineers, to Mark Ryan specifically, that even though Vita has a small install base, people love their Vita. People that read IGN and listen to this podcast love Vita, and I feel like that would get a lot of use. So, so we'll see what happens. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be bonkers, as Colin would say next week. Make sure you keep up with us all on Twitter. IGN is IGN. I'm Game Over Greggy. Colin is No Taxation. Vince is Vincognito. It's been posted this entire time, right underneath his face, somewhere in this area. Not on his face, underneath his face. Probably on top of the Pop-Tart wrapper.
Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.